purpose of the plant. If the plant is not doing this, then you remove it. The thing that in our lives we must begin to understand and look at the very principles, the establishment of standard for life. Be fruitful. In many countries of the world, they're now controlling how many children you can have. You can't be fruitful. In China, there's only one. In the Philippines, they're talking about making it 2. I don't think it will pass, but who knows? If our president, he can do what he wants, and he does. But they want to control it. They want to tell us, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that. But yet God says, be fruitful. He's not talking about just children. He's talking about our whole life is to be productive, bringing forth that which is good, that which is a blessing, that which is a provision for mankind. The farm, growing pineapple, sometimes pineapple shape is kind of weird. I don't know why it's not normal, but sometimes it's not very normal. And so what we have to do, we can't sell that because most people want perfection. They're not perfect, but they want perfection. I go to the supermarket and I watch these elderly ladies that are wealthy taking the vegetables and squeezing them from top to bottom, and then putting them down and taking another and squeezing from top to bottom. I want to go over to them and grab it and put it on the ground and stand on it and say, now does that help? Why do we have this attitude? Why are we so controlling and putting down, condemning? We want everything to be perfect. Well, they're not perfect, so I take them to my house, I have them cut up, and I cook them, and I make pineapple jam out of them. And in my basement, I have stacks of cases of pineapple jam. I've already sold cases of it, but I keep doing this because we are to be productive. We are to multiply. Shouldn't let it waste. Don't let it waste, because that which is not perfect for others can still be something productive for someone else. The one thing about it, when we sell the jam, people are so excited about the taste of it. Well, it's because I make it. You know, and it's my sweat that drops into it. And you know, when it's boiling, it spits the sugar and all that out and burns you, and you have these blisters on your hand. But it's okay, I just spit right back at it. Not really. But you know, there's something that we can do productive with whatever we have. There's good in everything. And it's a matter of having this attitude within us, because this is who we are. God put his breath within us, and he knew what that breath would do. He created the heavens and the earth. He created the sun and the moon and the stars. He created the mountains. He created all the animals. And he put that same breath in us. And we can say, well, we can't, but that is not true, because the scripture says all things are possible. And it's about time we begin to realize we can do what God has given us to do. We are not limited by the don'ts of the world. I remember in my physics class when I was in college, how the professor would say, you can't do this, you can't do that, and with all these ingredients, you can't do that. Well, now in the world, they're mixing all these things that he said couldn't be mixed. Why? Because with God, there are no limitations. All things are possible. If only we have that hope within us, that assurance within us, we can find provision of God. Be fruitful. This is the command of God. Be fruitful. Here's the beginning. That beginning has never ceased, because if you go through the New Testament, he still tells you, you are the answer to the problems of the world. You are my witness. You live out your life so that others can see the greatness of God. We're still commanded to be fruitful in our lifestyle. And all that we are was from the very beginning, it has never changed. Be fruitful, fill the earth, subdue. We don't do very well, subdue. You know, right now in the Philippines, President Duterte he's cleaning up. On Monday, he fired 10,000 government workers. That's cleaning. I don't know who's doing all the work, but 10,000 political assignees were removed. He said, because you're part of the corruption. Subdue. We're afraid to do these things. It's one thing I have respect for Duterte. He's not afraid. He doesn't care. UN doesn't like him. US doesn't like him. This country doesn't like him. Others don't like him. But he's not afraid to do what his conscience tells him to do. He stands firm. And he's not afraid of people. You know, the other week, he got out of the palace. He got on his motorcycle, put on his helmet and his leather jacket so that nobody would know who he was. He snuck away from his security guards and he went through Manila. When he came back, they said, "What did you do? Somebody could have killed you." He said, "I had to go out and check what was going on because nobody will tell me the truth. So I'm going to go check it myself." He said, they said to him, "What if somebody shoots you?" He said, "If it's my time, it's my time." He's not afraid. He doesn't need all these things. These things are of the world. But he knows, obviously, who he is to a degree. And he is making it alive. Subdued. Not allowing wrong to be there. Over 1,000 people have died, drug dealers. In one portion of the country, 9,000 of them are in prison. Man, how rampant this became. And yet he's going after to clean it up. Subdue. Don't submit, subdue. Why are we afraid to speak up against evil? Why are we afraid to speak out against it? Is not God on our side? Is this not our command? I'm looking at the principles that God established for us in the beginning. Because if we don't know the beginning, we don't know where we are today, we don't know what we're supposed to be doing. He said, subdue and rule. Rule. Boy, if that one, we aren't following it at all. Everybody rules us. They tell us what to do. We have a job, they say, be here at 8 o'clock. That's ruling. You can have 45 minutes for lunch. If you take 46 minutes, you may lose your job. You go to 5 o'clock. But my children are sick. Doesn't matter. You are here. Slaves, not ruling. We find ourselves in life today in slavery to the system. We feel like we have to be obedient or else we can't make it. But did not God say to us, "I will supply your needs"? I will supply your needs. This is the beginning. This is what God is trying to get us to understand, to know. I'm doing this in such a manner today because I follow with the teaching the first session. And I can give the introduction now, so I can do more there. Very wise. It helps a lot. Because this is what it's all about. We have not understood the beginning. And in Genesis, John, where this comes from, the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. It starts in the beginning. In the beginning. We must know the beginning. Because this is who we are. This is who we were created to be. This is the empowerment that God has given to us. It's amazing how that some people, and they normally are religious people, they will tell you, yes, that's true. But go on to Genesis chapter 3 when they disobeyed God in the garden and they died. Isn't that where we are today because of them? No. not true. That happened. But that was not the beginning. The beginning was life. And that death that they suffered was not a physical death as we understand death. It was separation from the very provisions of God that became clouded to a point where they were not able to use what God had given them because they disobeyed. Isn't it true today that in many cases we're disobedient and maybe we are dying? No, we have a television program in the Philippines, I don't know about here in your area, it's called The Walking Dead. And you go out on the street and you can see them walking. You can see them here in Monaco. You can see the Walking Dead because they don't know God. They don't know the provision of God, and they think life is filled with turmoil and stress and anxiety. And nothing happens unless they are the ones to initiate it and they're the ones to do it. Death. Death. The Walking Dead. I don't know who created that TV program, but boy, they had to be a Christian at one time that lost sight of God, and they were saying, hey, look at us now, we're the Walking Dead because we're not obedient to God. The beginning. God gave us life. He gave us life eternal. Eternal life. Not just life that is long-lasting, but life that is full of His blessing, His provision. Well, that's Genesis. I won't start on the others because if I do, I'll go far. But this is so exciting. This is who we are. It's time for us to begin to realize we have been duped by the world to tell us you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that. If you don't follow our ways, you're not going to survive. No, that's not true. It's not true. We walk with a God who is greater than all the power of the enemy against us. And He says to us, and you can find this in the New Testament, all authority and power has been given unto you in heaven and on earth and above earth. It's there. Are we using that power? Do we understand it? Do we understand who we are? Because you'll notice what He says in Genesis chapter 1, the end. Everything He did was what? Everything He did was good. And He says it twice. But He says it after every time that He created something, it was good. It was good. It was good. Isn't it amazing how today's scientists are telling us all of these things, some of these things are not good anymore? They're taking us away from the very creation of God, the creation He's given to us. Now, in the New Testament, which in the next session I hope we can talk about, is Christ in you, the hope of glory. The Word became flesh and dwelt among us. Not among us, in us. This is the hope we have today. When God created man in the very beginning, He breathed His presence into that man. Sin hid that from man, but Christ brought it back to us. And we are no longer in the bondage, but now we have been delivered, set free, so that God can do His work and be a witness to the greatness of the world today. If only Christianity was living out what God made us to be, there would not be the problems we have in the world today. There would not be Iraq. There would not be Afghanistan. There would not be ISIS. There would not be all these things. Because we would be a witness to how good God is and how powerful He is when you walk with Him. But we fail. We fail basically because we have not understood, lack of knowledge. But as we gain knowledge, we must begin to believe and then begin to live it out. Because this is how great God is. Nothing that is against us is more powerful than the God who is with us. Doesn't matter who's against us. The hope that we have is the one who is with us. I'll leave Genesis right there. I won't touch upon the gospel because I did it in the beginning. I did. I followed what God said in the beginning. In the beginning, I mentioned it, and I left. And I went back to the beginning because this is what Jesus talks about, the beginning, the beginning, the beginning, the beginning. We can't leave the beginning. It's part of our life. It's part of what God has given us. Please stand.